I want to talk about a bit of an odd topic tonight. I want to talk about how Judaism teaches us to put on our shoes. Now, a lot of people didn't realize or don't realize that, yes, in fact, Judaism teaches us how to put our shoes on. Judaism teaches us just about how to do everything. Before we dive into why Judaism teaches us to put the shoes on the way they do, let's talk about the Jewish way to put on shoes. And by the way, most of you won't be surprised, there's controversy as to the right way to put on your shoes. I'm kind of going with the majority opinion here, but there are differing opinions if you look back in Talmud and things like that. All right. Now, we start off, I was going to demonstrate, but Cheryl said nobody wants to see my feet. So, I put it on video this morning. But the first thing that you do in the morning, when you put on your shoes, or any time you're putting on your shoes, is you put your right shoe on first. Now, they are assuming, because this was ancient times, that there would be some type of tying that was involved. Okay, so don't ask me what about flip-flops, what about sandals with they're talking about shoes that had to be tied. All right? So you put on your right shoe first, but you don't tie it. Okay? Then, with your right shoe on and untied, you put your left shoe on. And you tie your left shoe. You then go back. Don't worry if you've been doing it wrong all these years. It's fine. You then go back, once your left shoe is tied, and tie your right shoe, and you begin your journey. Okay, why? Now remember we talked a little bit ago about tefillin. And if you've never seen it, I can always show it to you. But tefillin are those leather straps that contain the words that we talked about. And when you wrap tefillin, you're wrapping it traditionally on your left arm. Why? Well, it's not just the act of putting tefillin on, but it's called wrapping tefillin. And so your right hand is the one that's really doing the wrapping. Now, left-handed people, raise your hands for a second. I will apologize to you now. Our tradition is not very nice to you. And here's my argument to you. Ignore the tradition and just switch feet and switch arms and all of that. But keep in mind, and I'll explain to you, they're afraid. Jewish tradition is afraid of you lefties. And we'll talk about why. But my apologies to the lefties in the room. So the left arm is considered, or the left side of the body in general, is considered the weaker side of the body. Okay? So your right arm, when you put on tefillin, is the stronger arm, and so you can wrap it around. Now, that's why some say you tie your left shoe first, because it's acknowledging that you wrap the tefillin on the left arm, and so that's the side that starts the tying, or what you might want to call the wrapping. But that being said, you can take the shoe teaching and put the first. So if you're a lefty, you can put the left shoe on first, and then your right, and you can tie, and then you can tie the left. But there's a lot more to it. There's a lot more to it than just because we wrap the tefillin on the left arm. And a lot of it has to do with mysticism as to why the left shoe is tied first. And why tefillin would be placed on the left arm. When we act, here, let's dive a little bit into mysticism. When we act responsibly in this world, we're acting in a way where our ability to love and care for other people is tempered by our ability to be tough. If we're all love, and those of you who have studied Kabbalah with me know this, if we're all love, as warm and fuzzy as that sounds, we don't make the best decisions. And if we're just tough, we're judgmental. And that's no good. Ideally, we want to find a balance. The best way that you could think about it is a parent. If a parent is all love, on the surface it might seem like, oh, their kids are going to be everything's going to be, unicorns and roses and wonderful. But the fact is, all love can lead to kids who don't know how to make their own decisions and how to hear the word no. And so we need, as a parent, to be tempered by the left side of us and the right side of us. The right side of us being that loving side, and the left side of us being that tougher, more judgmental side. Ideally, in between somewhere is that sweet spot. Now, balance doesn't necessarily imply an equal mix of both love and judgment. We're taught in Kabbalah, Jewish mysticism, and Judaism in general, and we know full well that most of us, not all of us, but most of us can quickly and without any hesitation act out of a place of judgment. We don't necessarily rush to act out of a place of love. And so, because of this, we're taught there's just too much judgment in this world. There's too much harshness in this world. There's too much anger in this world. Like I need to tell any of you any of this. We live it. Judaism teaches us, yes, judgment is necessary. But we need to do our best to hold it back a little bit, to restrain it a little bit. And so, this idea that we need to restrain our judgment, our harsher side, because of this, and the harsher side is which side? Left. Sorry, lefties. Right? Because of this need to restrain, we tie or wrap the tefillin around our left arm, and we tie our left shoe first to hold back some of the strength that the left side has. Now, respecting the incredible power and importance of the left side of the body, that's why we tie it first. We don't put the shoe on that foot first, but we respect the incredible strength it has by tying first, symbolizing, capturing the fact that the left side is that part of us that is tough and strong. Restraining this toughness and strength is something we need to do so that we can honor and appreciate our right side, our loving, kind, compassionate side, which gets the privilege of the first shoe. Okay? We don't ignore the right side completely. So, in a way, for you lefties, while you might feel insulted by this ritual, and by the way, Cheryl can tell you I'm ambidextrous, so I don't know if I'm insulted or happy by any of this. So the lefties might feel insulted by this ritual. Our tradition is teaching us how to honor both sides of our bodies. Now, I agree. I don't expect you to start putting on your shoes this way. And I don't want you to get obsessive about putting your shoes on this way. And I understand that some of you might think, well, this is just silly, a Jewish way to put on shoes. But there's really a lot of powerful lessons in this, beyond the mystical lessons. The first, this idea that there's a way to put on our shoes in our tradition. Even the simplest of acts, even the most mundane of acts, like putting on our shoes, can, in Judaism, be infused with holiness just by being aware of our actions. It's pretty amazing. Number two, some of you know that in Judaism there's a blessing that we say after using the restroom. Some people chuckle about it, but it's actually a pretty amazing blessing. In this blessing, we thank God And I'm not making this up. We thank God for letting everything work the way it's supposed to work. And it's amazing. And too often we don't stop to be amazed and then be grateful for our body. We only stop and are sometimes shocked and horrified when our body doesn't work the way it's supposed to. So when we stop and think about something as simple as which foot gets the first shoe and which shoe is tied first and why, we're encouraged to stop and simply be aware of these body parts, specifically our feet, that carry many of us around during the day. And hopefully when we stop for just a moment and give thanks that we have the ability to put on our shoes and begin a new day, if we do that, it might actually add a little something than if we were to just run, toss the shoes on, and get out the door. Number 3, it reminds us that we do, whether we're lefties or righties, it reminds us of the reality that we have a stronger side. I mean, science shows us one part of our body is stronger than the other side of our body. But it also reminds us that both sides of our body are necessary. And both sides of our body need and deserve our attention. A little bit of a diversion here. If you see here, and many of you know, we've got underneath the candles, we have the wine and the challah. The challah is covered, especially when we say the kiddush, the blessing over the wine. Now, one of the most common explanations for this is that the challah is symbolic of the manna, the bread that God sent from heaven while our ancestors were wandering in the desert. And the manna was covered in dew, in this kind of mystical water-like material. And so the cover of the challah is symbolic of that. But there's another reason, and that's to make certain, and this sounds silly, but to make certain that the challah is not embarrassed when the kiddush, when the wine is blessed before it. Out of respect to the challah, we make certain that it's covered so it's not out there for all to see while another object, another ritual object, a ritual food is being blessed. In the same way, by putting on our right shoe first, but by tying our left shoe first, or vice versa, we're making certain that we honor both sides of our bodies appropriately. One foot won't feel left out or inferior. Now again, I get it if it sounds silly. But if you were to do these rituals, putting on your shoes this way, and you really incorporate them into your life and start thinking about why. Imagine if everybody did this. Imagine if we could take this ritual that's a part of every single day and apply it to the people in our lives. Each of us have the folks in our lives who are like our left side of our body or our left foot. They demand more attention than we can possibly give. They're strong. They're powerful. Oftentimes they're judgmental. But they're an integral part of our life. And while they might frustrate us, we love them. And each of us have the quieter folks, the people who are the right feet in our lives. And these quieter folks are easily pushed aside by the louder folks in our lives. And these quieter folks, their sweetness Their ability to love and care for people is something that we need in our lives, but they're so easily sidelined by all of the noise that's out there. How incredible would it be? How incredible would it be if we could respect and honor both our tough and our gentle friends like we honor our left and our right foot in the morning? How incredible it would be if we could ensure that both groups of folks get the attention they need and deserve. Well, there's a reason Judaism teaches us how to put on our shoes. And yeah, it might be silly. But on the other hand, in this crazy time that we find ourselves living in, a time when honoring and respecting folks seem to be something that's going out of style, I would argue that we could benefit, all of us, by starting our day by putting on our shoes Jewishly.